Hi everyone, welcome to Kitaabi Cabins. I am Kritika, and today I want to share with you a few books and poems that kept me occupied, or rather gave me company in the month of April. I'll start with the latest one that I finished. It's called The Year of Magical Thinking by Joanne Didion. I did not know the author before, and she has written 5 novels and 10 non-fiction books and a play as well, and this book grabbed her the national award. Not the reason for which she might have written it though. She was a renowned writer when she wrote this book, and after I picked this book and I started reading it, I was so intrigued whether it's a true story or not because it felt so personal. And I went to the blurb. I did not even read the blurb before, and I checked it out and turned out that it's a true story. And so I'll read it out to you. John and Joanne saw their daughter fall ill. At first they thought it was flu, then she was placed on life support. Days later, the Derns were sitting down to dinner when John suffered a massive and fatal coronary. It just gives you a hit about how fragile life is and how suddenly you're living life like a normal day, or not a normal one. In that case, they were already dealing with the illness of their daughter, and they came back and they were serving dinner, and Joanne was pouring out wine and setting out the food, and she saw her husband have a shock and he was dead at the next moment. So it happened in December of 2003, and for the next year she just keeps remembering that what happened on the day a year back, what John was doing a year back, what her daughter was doing a year back on this particular day. And the book is about grief and mourning and the process of it. It's so sad, and I did not know that what the age of the author was. I knew nothing about her. In the first few chapters, I thought that she was quite young, and I pictured her daughter to be quite young, but this is in her 60s, I think, because her daughter is married and her brothers have kids who are married. This doesn't make it any better or accepting of life, but yeah, the book is just heart-wrenching, and do not read it in a public place. I picked it up on a flight, and I had to keep it back because I did not want 10 people see me bawling. If you are dealing with grief, I don't know if it will be a helpful book or it will make you even more sad. So you will get to know in the first 2 chapters of the book. One of the sentences that I really like, I read it out for you. The mourner is in fact ill, but because this state of mind is common and seems so natural to us, we do not call mourning an illness. To put my conclusion more precisely, I should say that in mourning, the subject goes through a modified and transitory manic depressive state and overcomes it. She talks about how grief is in the past. It deals with what happened, and mourning is an active process. You're dealing with it at the moment. The second half of the book is still manageable because most of the bad stuff has happened, and you are now seeing the author, if not making peace with what happened, but at least trying to accept it and to come to terms with it. So because she's a writer, she is talking a lot about what other writers have written on grief. She also dwelled down into the research mode of the illness of her daughter. So she has quoted a lot of things from research papers, academicians, and classic literature on grief and mourning and loss. And one of my favorite poems, which is called The Funeral Blues by W.H. Auden. I'll read the poem for you. Stop all the clocks, cut off the telephone, prevent the dog from barking with a juicy bone, silence the pianos and with muffled drum, bring out the coffin and let the mourners come. Let aeroplanes circle mourning overhead, scribbling on the sky the message, he is dead. He was my north, my south, my east and west, my working week and my Sunday rest, my noon, my midnight, my talk, my song. I thought that love would last forever. I was wrong. The stars are not wanted now. Put out everyone, pack up the moon and dismantle the sun, pour away the ocean and sweep up the wood, for nothing now can ever come to any good. This poem is so beautiful, and I often read it during the pandemic when people were dealing with loss of their loved ones. Pick up the book if you feel like your heart is ready to deal with it. Do read it. It will give you some nice... I mean, a lot has been written on grief and mourning, but it does seem very impactful when it comes from the person who is feeling it. She quoted Funeral Blues, which is from the perspective of the person who is mourning a loss, and I would like to believe that her husband would give this in response, which is a poem by Elizabeth Fry called Do Not Stand at My Grave and Weep. Do not stand at my grave and weep. I am not there, I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow, I am the diamond glints on snow. I am the sunlight on ripened grain, I am the gentle autumn rain. When you awaken in the morning's hush, I am the swift, uplifting rush of quiet birds in circled flight. I am the soft stars that shine at night. Do not stand at my grave and cry. I am not there, I did not die. These two poems really sum up the two sides of death. The second book that I want to talk about is called Stoner, written by John Williams. I do not know why this book is not talked about so much, and this is really not the mainstream novel of fiction that you come across. I did not find anybody recommending it often or people talking it in my circle, and I stumbled upon it on a random Instagram page. I wish I remembered the page name, but I do not. And not much was written. There was just a small caption which intrigued me at that time, and I picked it up, and thank God I picked it up. If not underrated, it is definitely one of the less explored classics. I would call it a classic. So I did go back to it like during its publishing time, and I was reading a few things that people did not accept it much when it was released. And the author, John Williams, has a sort of attitude of the protagonist, Stoner. It's the name of the protagonist. He was pretty laid back about it, and he said that if people will like it, they'll like it, and maybe not today, but they might like it a few years later. And one publisher thought that it was good. It was really a good book to be published and something to be a given chance to. And Americans did not like it at that time. They thought it was too European. They didn't resonate with it. It was not relatable to them. And I get it. It is when it was released that capitalism was rising, industries were rising, and Stoner is about someone who is in early stages of life. He works on a farm with his parents, and he decides that he wanted to go to some higher studies, learn about agriculture, come back, help out his father. And he goes there, and so what happens is that there is a mandatory English literature course that you have to take. So he goes there, and the lecturer, Archer Sloan, questions Stoner about William Shakespeare, which really embarrasses him because he's made to stand out in front of the whole class, and he does not know the answer. But something shifts inside him, and he just decides to pursue literature after that. And there's World War also happening in the background, so he loses friends. He goes on to marry the wrong women. I mean, there is no particular plot in this story. There is no plot. There is just a man living his life, taking some decisions, and very passively though. He's not quite active in taking decisions. Things are happening around him and to him, but often you will see that he will make things happen, and because of this laid-back approach towards life, he often sees disappointment in his life. He marries the wrong person, and within a week, he realizes that this marriage is not going to work out. And he's such a complex character. He's probably one of... if not my he's not my favorite, but definitely in the list. He's always in dichotomy. He wants to do something, but he feels like doing something else. He decides to do something and then instantly feels sort of an abandonment with what he was doing earlier. So he's always in conflict with himself, but he's just going with the flow. This book makes you think about going with the flow and the whole carpe diem thing. It made me question about if you just let things happen with the flow, how much you are involved in your life. And sometimes life demands your attention. It demands your involvement. It demands you to take some actions and make things happen. And it has some really beautiful lines. So when he moved out to college and left his parents, so he talks about that he and his parents were becoming strangers, and he felt his love increased by its loss. And when he's dwelled into the literature and he's reading things, and there's a line here that really intrigued me. Sometimes, immersed in his books, there would come to him the awareness of all that he did not know, of all that he did not read, and the serenity for which he labored was shattered as he realized the little time he had in life to read so much, to learn what he had to know. And his life was so tragic. I don't know if I'm in a position to judge his life and call it tragic. It was sad though. He didn't go to the profession that he wanted to, but he changed it, and there were phases where he liked his profession. There were phases when there were a lot of politics involved, and he thought of quitting at a time. He had a failed marriage. He had a failed love affair. His wife was sort of distancing their daughter purposefully from him, and he didn't do anything about it. He just let it happen, and he regretted that. But he was always caught up in his head, or he just didn't question anything. And you see him passing through life from his 20s to late 60s and falling ill and thinking about death. Pick this book up. It might it is, if you like slow burn movies, if you like movies like Manchester by the Sea. I don't know why I thought of that movie while reading this book, but if you like those kind of movies, you'll like reading this book. So give it a chance. The third book, which I finished, I did not pick this up in April, but I did finish it. I picked it up actually. When did I pick it up? In December of 2022. It was a Christmas gift, and I had already read 2 parts. This is, by the way, the third book of the Beer Town series. And if you have watched a few of my videos before, I've already talked about Backman a lot, and particularly due to A Man Called Ove and this whole series. This series, कुछ चीज़ें होती हैं जिनको आप recommend करना चाहते हो, but you always feel that I always feel that कि इसको बोलूँगी, I would undersell it, and I do not want to do that. How do I tell you what this whole series encompasses? Like दो fictional character, 3 fictional character, but Frederick Backman has this quality that he can just write about 20 fictional characters, give them layers of their own, give their character graph of their own, and you feel so close to them. I was scared for children in this book, and I do not even know what parenthood feels like, but I was worried to my core. This is the reason that it took me so long to finish this book, because I was worried about the characters, and I was worried about the characters, and I was reading through them. Please don't die. And it is talking about politics. It talks about human emotions, about tragedy, about bravery, about courage, and how sometimes it takes courage to be a coward, to play coward, and sacrifice. And just the book is so much. I can talk about the whole series in a separate video altogether. Man, when I was reading this, I didn't have my bookmarks with me, unfortunately. I might give it another read just for the sake of it, just to pinning down where I marked my favorite quotes from it. Please do pick up Beer Town. If you have watched This Is Us series, what This Is Us is in TV series, Beer Town isn't books. Let's just put it that way. I mean, a new character would come in the third part of the series, in the middle of the book, and you still feel close to the character. You don't feel like कि नहीं नया character अभी नहीं चाहिए था, अभी तो आधे book में पूरा series खत्म हो जाएगी. But you don't feel that way. There's always a backstory. There's always an impact of that particular character in the whole picture. Anyway, I can go on and on about this. These were the 3 books. The other one that I'm currently reading, it is not finished, and I have no intention of finishing it anytime soon. It is Welcome to the I can never pronounce it. Welcome to the Hunam Dong Bookshop, and the protagonist is the owner of a bookshop, and she hires a coffee maker, not a coffee maker. He hires a person who makes coffee in the bookshop, and this book is so simple. It talks about all the customers that come to the bookshop, which book they pick, and how she's trying to let her own prejudices and her own recommendations, which I think I should also learn that if you're recommending a book to someone, you don't recommend everything that you like, but you also recommend what the other person might like, which is apart from you. You have to look outside of yourself. And she's dealing with that. She's hosting sessions in a book club sort of a thing. And there's a customer who crochets every day and comes to the bookshop and drinks coffee. And so she hosts an event where they are selling out the crochets. They talk about how to make coffee and the whole process of grinding the coffee and till the brewing of it. They talk about it. I really like the name of the chapters, like A Poor Sentence Weakens a Good Voice, or Occasionally a Good Person. That's the chapter name. And Buttons Without Holes. Really like that. So this is ongoing and read like 112 pages. So this was my April read, and let me know if you pick back one, please pick it. And I will see you next time. Thank you.